previous lecture we discussed about Akbar the Great. As we discussed that Akbar was real founder and administration as well as all that. He was real founder of Mughal Empire in India, because Babur annexed out only northern parts of India, Humayun lost out that and regained that, but control was not to that level of India, whereas Akbar continued this practice. In second battle of Panipat, actually Akbar got power, that is arrived somewhere in 1556, but then onwards slowly Akbar gained power from Behram Khan, and ultimately he started his expansionist policy. As we discussed that Akbar was proved tolerant to all religion rather than only Islam. He abolished practice of jizya. But prior to that, he abolished practice of pilgrimage tax. After that, his position was strengthened out because Hindus started supporting out Akbar. And then onwards, Akbar conquered Gujarat, then Bengal. You are aware again that again and again I am explaining in lecture that these two areas, that Gujarat and Bengal, they are trading centers of India. And in order to get stabilized the empire, the owner or emperor should have both these states. Now Akbar's empire was strengthened because he was now able to control over Bengal and Gujarat. Somewhere in 1572-73 he conquered Gujarat, whereas in 74-76 he conquered Bengal. Now he marched towards Afghanistan and regained. Why I am saying regain, because already Afghanistan was belonging to Babur. But then onwards, that was lost out. And then again they got control. They got control over Kashmir, Sindh, Orissa, then central India and Kandahar. Kandahar is there in Afghanistan. So a vast empire was carved out. And then we discussed that Akbar entered in South Indian politics in order to control South Indian peninsula. At that time, Nizam Shahi kingdom was ruling from Ahmednagar, whereas for consecutive 8 years, now you will recognize again the power. He conquered Gujarat in just period, that is of 1572 to 1573. He conquered Bengal over just 1574 to 76. But he entered in South, particularly to conquer Deccan, and he waited there for 8 years. And after that 8 years also, he was not able to conquer Peninsula. Forget of Peninsula, there was kingdom here that is called as Nizam Shahi kingdom. So he was not able to conquer Nizam Shahi kingdom completely. As we discussed in that lecture, previous lecture, he was able to conquer Ahmednagar, the capital of Nizam Shahi kingdom. But Nizam Shahi kingdom continued resistance. And they shifted out their capital from Ahmednagar to Devgiri, that is called as Daulatabad. And after 8 years of affairs in South India, by making Burhanpur as their central camp, base camp in South, actually it is in Madhya Pradesh, but I can say consider towards Deccan, he went back. After his death, his rule was good. Certain practices he carried out in his court, that is called as Darbar. That was very nice practices, but not present day we can say it is nice, but you know that was good. Now after his death, before his death, he faced a problem that Salim, his son, rebelled against him. Keep in mind, we are reading out in book, particularly in history book. At that time, history is something different. And when we are observing Hindi movies, it is something different. In Hindi movie, it is said that cause of war was anarchy and all that. Don't do that. It's just might. Actually, Akbar was having long rule. He didn't die at age of 48. And then Salim was having problem and therefore Salim rebelled. But this rebellion crushed down. But after his death, Jahangir got power again. Now keep in mind, Jahangir means Salim. So Jahangir was getting power in hand. He was actually addict of liquor. As we discussed in previous lecture, some books are showing that he was addict from 8 years old onwards. He was actually having Hindu mother. His mother was Raja of Amber's daughter. Okay, so we are calling this as now Mughal rule. Say Babur was Mongol, Turki Mongol. Humayun was Turki Mongol. Akbar was having Turki Mongol's blood as well as because his mother was Sindhi Muslim, whereas Jahangir's mother was Hindu, Rajput. So Jahangir, after getting power, but still he was treated some badly in earlier life. That means proper attention was not given. He was having under influence of liquor many times. But still, he marched successfully towards Bengal and he conquered Bengal. After that, he fought war with Amar Singh of Mewar. You are aware, Rana Pratap was from Mewar. He continued his struggle against Akbar. But after that, his son Amar Singh was there. Amar Singh was not able to survive, or I can say after prolonged war, he realized that Mughal power is really a great, because Akbar spread out all over India and power was strengthened out, and ultimately he decided to accept suzerainty. So no other insulting traits were there. He was having equal status to that status of ruler of Jodhpur, Bikaner and Amber. Similar status was given to Amar Singh, and this way Jahangir was able to conquer Mewar also. Now Jahangir continued his father's policy of forming matrimonial alliances with Rajput daughters, and this way he married with various Rajput daughters, princess rather I should say. But apart from that, one important incident was there in his life, that during one conquest he killed Subedar of Awadh. Awadh means present day Ayodhya, a place in Uttar Pradesh. He killed that Subedar of Awadh, and then after some time he got contact, or rather the wife of that Awadh Subedar get contacted with with Jahangir. This incident is really important in Indian history, not only Jahangir's history, but Indian history. That wife was having name as Noor Jahan in Persian or some Arabic word. Jahan, that is considered as this word. Noor means considered as light. So she is considered as light of this world. It is said that she was very beautiful and she was Persian. That means she was Muslim, but Persian Muslim. And she developed some affair with Jahangir, that is Salim, and ultimately she married with Salim. Somewhere at time of marriage, her age was around 32 years old. But she was a determined, very determined lady. Soon after, she proved that she is capable of dealing the matters in the court also. And then onwards, she controlled Mughal court. So keep in mind, this incident is really important because Salim was under influence of liquor and he was not paying that attention towards the court, because he tried to annex Kandhar region again. But Kandhar means present day, it is in Afghanistan, that was lost in hands of Persia. You are aware, here somewhere is the place, Kandhar. From that, a connection to Silk route or trade route to Central Asia was there. So Kandahar lost in hands of Persians again. Deccan means here again. The Nizamshahi kingdom was there. In Nizamshahi kingdom, there were problems, but Nizam Shah got a fantastic person as a Wazir. Wazir means Prime Minister. His name was Malik Ambar. He was considered as Siddhi. Now you are aware Siddhi means people from Abyssinia or present day Ethiopia in Africa continent. So he was Siddhi. He was called as Malik Ambar. He was a diplomat, a loyal person to Nizam Shahi throne, and he was having great ideas of war. A technique that is called as guerrilla war technique. That means with minimum of soldiers, we can carry out attack. In Sanskrit, we are calling this as Kuta Yuddha or Vrut Yuddha. In Urdu, it is called as Ganimi Kawa. In English, we are calling this as guerrilla war technique. So he was master in that, and that's why Jahangir was not getting success in Deccan. So Ahmednagar kingdom was creating a problem for Jahangir. Then Kandahar was lost because of these habits, and then Nur Jahan started controlling over the court. She was Persian, and she introduced Persian concepts in the Mughal court. Try to get again. When Akbar was ruler, at Akbar's court, Rajput kings were allowed to sit on their thrones. But now thrones are thrown. And instead of that, they used to stand, because Persian rule is that only emperor will sit. Rest of people will stand in front of emperor. So these all Persian traditions, customs and traditions were introduced in Mughal court. The more prominence was started given on art and architecture rather than development of people. Separate ministers were appointed so that they will look after the matter of art, architecture and all that. And this way, say the revenue that was generated for welfare of public, instead of that, that revenue was started converting in this art and artwork and all that. So this is the major change carried out by Nur Jahan. Ultimately, Nur Jahan was having so great power in hand that the coins minted by Jahangir or in the name of Jahangir were associated with name of Nur Jahan also. So in Islamic history of India, we are aware that first female ruler, a woman, lady ruler, that was Nur Jahan, that was Razia Sultana. She handled throne independently for 4 years, but with strong resistance. Whereas this is the second important ruler. No doubt, on throne, theoretically there was Jahangir, but practically all controls were controlled by Nur Jahan. So this way, Mughal Sultanate now changed out. In Mughal Sultanate, initially we started discussion of Babur, then Humayun, then Akbar. Akbar is real founder here, but after Akbar, certain customs and traditions changed out. And now, there was again problem for Jahangir, that is of revelations. So as we discussed about revelations, the first revelation, first thing we discussed that he lost Kandahar. Again we discussed that Ahmednagar was creating strong problem for for his Jahangir. Then like that problems were going on. Jahangir sent his son, having name as Khurram. You have to keep name in mind. His name was Khurram. He was entitled as Shah Jahan. He was son of Hindu queen of Jahangir. he was stepson of Nur Jahan. But Nur Jahan was favoring out Khurram as a new ruler. After Jahangir, the ruler should be Shah Jahan. So like that, she was favoring Shah Jahan. Not only that, Nur Jahan arranged marriage of Shah Jahan with her means Nur Jahan's brother's daughter. Her name is Arjumand Banu, later on called as Mumtaz Mahal. So she was there in so much care of Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan, that means Khurram, entered in the Deccan politics. He made his base camp again as Akbar, his grandfather only set out at base camp at Burhanpur in MP. So he was there at Burhanpur, and from Burhanpur he tried different wars with Nizam Shahi kingdom of Ahmednagar. But he was also not getting that success. Nizam Shahi kingdom was continued to survive. After all this war, because Malik Ambar was carrying out war nicely, and ultimately Shah Jahan rebelled against Jahangir. Now this became Mughal tradition that son should rebel against father. So this way Shah Jahan started rebellion against Jahangir. Whereas Nur Jahan appointed now Shah Jahan was not in favor of Nur Jahan. Nur Jahan appointed a great man from Jahangir's court having name as Mahabat Khan. He was old but well experienced of war. He was having good tactics of war, and Mahabat Khan was arranged to crush down rebellion by Shah Jahan. And Mahabat Khan got success. Mahabat Khan managed a massive victory over Shah Jahan, and Shah Jahan was taken back. But after this revelation, circumstances were like that Shah Jahan was rescued and Jahangir died out. Already he was under tremendous influence of liquor. In his own book, he wrote this way, that I was not able to drink ordinary liquor. I was only drinking without diluting them. So just imagine what will happen to Jahangir after that. And then, after death of Jahangir, the situation was so that Shah Jahan was appointed as new Mughal emperor. So this way, a short period that was there from 1605 to 1627, over a period of 22 years, Jahangir ruled out. But out of that, many years was not directly. He was ruling indirectly. On his name, his wife Nur Jahan was ruling over this part. After death of Jahangir, the next ruler of Mughal dynasty, that was Shah Jahan, or that is famous as Khurram. Original name is Khurram, he is famous as Shah Jahan. Now, his role was not that easy. From Bundelkhand is somewhat in central parts of India area. From Bundelkhand, revelations were there. At the same time, from Deccan, war practice was continuously going on. So these frontiers were not clear. Again, Persian advance over Kabul, Kandahar and that territory, that was there. And in that situation, ultimately, Shah Jahan became ruler. He started his policy of expansion against Deccan. He became ruler in era of 1628 and keeping Shah Jahan as it is. Because I had to discuss some parts of Deccan again. So we are switching over to Deccan. As you are aware that on Deccan there was first Bahamani rule. the Bahamani rule was established by Hassan Gangu Bahamani. After that, Bahamani sultans continued to rule. But then onwards, Bahamani kingdom split out into 5 kingdoms. Out of that, 2 kingdoms were perished, whereas Nizam Shah of Ahmednagar, now I should say Nizam Shah of Daulatabad, continued. Adil Shah, a Turki ruler of Bijapur, continued. And Qutub Shah of Golconda, a Persian ruler, continued. So Deccan was divided into these 3 kingdoms. Whereas to the south of that, there is a river that is called as Tungabhadra. To south of that, there is an area that is called as Vijayanagar's Hindu Empire. We are discussing about this Vijayanagar's Hindu Empire in next lecture. Right now we are going towards the end portion of Vijayanagar's Hindu Empire. A ruler named as Ram Rai was ruling over Vijayanagar at that time. They were having a fantastic city that is called as Hampi, their capital. Lots of architectural work. Today also we can observe them. In old days it was much more beautiful and better. Ram Rai was having a very huge army and he defeated Adil Shah and Qutub Shah many times. But this time, all these Adil Shahi, Nizam Shahi and Qutub Shahi kingdoms decided to unite and fight with Vijayanagar Empire. Particularly Nizam Shah was interested much, and then Nizam Shah, then Adil Shah united together. Nizam Shah brought a huge cannon. That cannon was really great. Great means what? Not lengthwise, but the hole, diameter of that hole was great. In those days, keep in mind again, in those days it was a great cannon. It was having name as Mallika-e-Maidan in Urdu. But people started calling that cannon as Muluk Maidan. That is what? It is destroying territory. Areas were destroyed by that cannon. So that Mallika-e-Maidan, in old books, it was mentioned that she means that cannon that was considered as giant. That giant is spitting out fire. So like that description we can observe there. So with that huge cannon and togetherly vast army was there. Majority army was of Maratha people, because Marathas were now fighting for Adil Shah, now fighting for Qutub Shah, for Nizam Shahi kingdom and all that. Whereas all these armies were there with deal with Adil Shah, deal with Vijayanagar's empire. A battle is famous as Battle of Talikota, or it is oftenly described as Battle of Rakshas Tagri. The first day of battle was indecisive, but on second day, after afternoon, situation changed up. Soldiers from Ram Rai's army betrayed him. Because of that, Ram Rai was arrested and executed by Adil Shah. They inserted spear in head of Ram Rai and started showing and dancing everywhere that your leader is now executed. And this way, Vijayanagar's army scattered out. That is Bahamani rule. Bahamani rulers entered in Vijayanagar, that means Hampi, and destroyed a lot. But they didn't penetrate further because their generals, that means Vijayanagar generals, were having huge armies still. They were just defeated here, but they were there in South India, and therefore this army went back. The area remained unconquered. Only parts of areas were defeated as a power. Vijayanagar was crushed down, but people, or that we are calling them as Nayak. Nayak means Subedar in case of Vijayanagar's empire. These Nayaks continued ruling over this area. Now, this way, the most important thing that was achieved by Bahamani pieces actually, that is the destruction of Vijayanagar's empire. During that time, as we discussed, that Portuguese arrived in India, particularly Vasco da Gama arrived in India. We will discuss this part separately. But Vasco da Gama was arrived in India. After him, Afonso de Albuquerque, a Portuguese general, arrived here. He defeated Arab in the naval battles and exerted supremacy over this area. Now that means over the Arabian Sea. Then he conquered Goa by diplomacy between Vijayanagar's empire and Adil Shah, and ultimately he got control over Goa in 1502. And then onwards, Portuguese sailors used to visit this Hampi or Vijayanagar. One of the Portuguese traveler described Hampi the way he said, "This type of city I never observed by my eyes and never heard by my ears. So fantastic and beautiful city is there." But that was destroyed by this Adil Shahi and Nizam Shahi kingdom. Now, Nizam Shah was fighting with Mughals. Now I am keeping Nizam Shah and Adil Shah there, and we are discussing about Maratha power. I am revising again that in ancient period, the Marathas were, name Maratha was not there, but Satavahan Empire is in written history prominent empire from this area. Satvahans ruled over vast territory of India. If you are aware that they were defeated by Kushan Emperor Kanishka in Haryana. So their territory was there somewhere here till Haryana. After this defeat, they shrinked out to south. After that, they were ruling over vast territory of South Indian peninsula. But Kanishka again arrived on horizon of Maharashtra, where Kanishka was defeated by Satavahan rulers. After end of Satavahan rule, that means from Maharashtra, but Satavahan rule continued over Andhra Pradesh for more than 200 years, and that's why often these people are called as Andhras. But Maharashtra continued to rule under Satavahan for many years. After that, Vakatak dynasty arrived. After end of Vakatak dynasty, it was under Chalukya dynasty. Then there was revelation, that is establishment of Rashtrakuta dynasty. Over 200 years, Rashtrakuta dynasty was ruling this territory. After that, Hoysala dynasty started ruling. Chalukya dynasty started ruling again. That is called as latter Chalukyas. After that, Hoysala dynasty started ruling. And then, one of the feudals of Hoysala, they are called as Yadavas. These Yadav rebelled and Yadav established their own empire. That continued to fight with Khilji dynasty, as we discussed in earlier lectures. That 4 battles were fought by this Khilji, this Yadav with Khilji, where they lost, but they offered a strong resistance. After Harpaldev Yadav, no much rebellions were there, but that means not that they were not carrying out any attack or entire freedom was lost. Say for example, there is territory that is called as Baglan. Baglan is towards north of Nashik part. So their rulers, they were separate rulers, they were continued their independent rule. Then in Zawli, Zawli is another territory in Satara district today. You are aware of Mahabaleshwar, the west part of Mahabaleshwar, northwest part of Mahabaleshwar. that is actually called as Zavdi, but that valley is extended towards south. Today there is river that is called as River Krishna, then River Koyna and River Venna. These rivers are flowing through this valley. A dense forest is observed where Chandrarao More was ruling. Now you can ask question, why Chandrarao More? Chandrarao was title and surname was More. They were believing that they are descendant of Chandragupta Maurya. That's why the person who is sitting on throne was entitled as Chandrarao, were carrying out surname as More. So during Bahamani rule, Mahmud Gawan was Wazir. He decided to conquer Zavdi, but his army was brutally executed by this More in this Zavdi valley, and ultimately Mahmud Gawan returned back without any success. So like that, smaller territories were controlled by Maratha chieftains, but predominantly after development of Nizam Shahi kingdom, Adil Shahi kingdom, Barid Shahi kingdom, after establishment of this kingdom, Maratha got again chance. They started serving these Bahamani sultans and started developing their power under leadership of Bahamani sultan. Bahamani sultans offered them a Jahagir. Jahagir means piece of land. That means a set of villages. You can control that villages, you can rule over that territory, you have to maintain our army, you have to collect revenue, part of that will be utilized by you for maintaining army, and part of that revenue will be given to empire. So like that, empire was divided. Now, initial Islamic tendency was mild. Destruction of temples were reduced out. I am not saying completely abolished, but reduced out, because these Adil Shah, Nizam Shah, they were having requirement of these Maratha soldiers. Like Akbar carried out in North India, they were expecting help from Rajput. Same thing was expected here in Maharashtra. And now I am switching over to story of the great Maratha, that is Chhatrapati Shivaji. His ancestor, one of the ancestors, named as Babaji Raje Bhosle. He was there from Aurangabad territory, near Verur. Today it is called as Ellora. There Jahagir, a small village was there, where he was serving as Patil. Patil means chief of that village. He was carrying out his agricultural business, but surname was maintained as Babaji Raje Bhosle. They were believing that their ancestors were from Rajasthan. Particularly in the battle of Chittor, one person survived. His name was Bhosaji, and then he came to Maharashtra, and his descendants were called as Bhosle. In those days it was called as Bhosla. So that way, according to one story. Whatsoever matter, during his coronation ceremony, that means Shivaji Maharaj's coronation ceremony, it was traced out that their race is originally from Rajasthan. It is called as Sisodia dynasty. From that Sisodia descendant, they are there. So anyway, forget of that, get concentrated here, that no doubt all these things are there, but still Babaji Raje Bhosle was not having any strong position in Nizam Shahi kingdom. His rule was there under Nizam Shahi kingdom, but he was not having any political power at that time. But his son, named as Maloji, he was having important two sons here I should discuss, Maloji and Vithoji. That Maloji got a vessel filled with golden coins in his field. Maloji was a great person. He utilized that gold for reconstruction of Krishneshwar temple. This is famous temple near Aurangabad. So he reconstructed that temple. Then they were having their family deity in Satara district, that is called as Shikhar Shingnapur. He constructed a lake, a small dam and lake for getting source of water for pilgrimages. And like that, he carried out a lot of work for public. At the same time, he managed 1,000 soldiers with him, with that order. Obviously, this was offense in Nizam Shahi kingdom. Nizam Shah called him, but Nizam Shah was indeed having problem of Mughal advances, and he appointed him as a Sardar. Sardar means noble. He was given Jahagir of Pune, and then onwards Maloji Raje Bhosle started serving Nizam Shahi kingdom. So here I am ending of this part of lecture.